Hey everyone! Alright, so today we're going to cover the structure of a muscle. I would suggest getting something that you can draw with or have like a blank piece of paper outside of it because this is going to get really confusing. We talked about how Inception is like a dream within a dream. Well, this is going to be a small little thing within a small little thing and just tons and tons of tubes. So please take your time going through this. I know it's an e-learning day, so do what you can to understand this. If you do have questions, I will be on call from like noon until 2 p.m. Feel free to message me. Okay, so the fascia. This is going to be the outer layer of connective tissue that goes over the muscle and then eventually turns into the tendon. So this was that white shiny thing that you saw when you were dissecting the chicken wing that will eventually connect to the bone. So the fascia is the bag that goes over the muscle, very similar to how the periosteum covers the bone and the pericardium covers the heart. So we can see the fascia is that white piece here that is covering the muscle and ends up connecting into the tendon, which goes into the bone. Next, we have the epimysium. The epimysium, epi means on or above, so I know this is confusing because the epimysium is under the fascia, but it is the top layer of the muscle. So once again, we have a little segment within a little segment. This is the first little bit. When you look at a muscle close up, there are tons of these groupings going on. So the epimysium, maybe this will show up, here we are, is this little space within here. So the epimysium is there. Then we go into the perimysium. So the perimysium is that like tan portion in between, and we can see the perimysium here as well. And this is the epimysium surrounding all of this little guy. So lots of little bits going on here. The perimysium, like I said, it's underneath the epimysium and it wraps around the bundles, and those bundles are called fascicles. Fascicles. So this thing right here is one fascicle. The epimysium wraps around one fascicle, and the perimysium is the thing in between the fascicles. And the fascicles are the little things that come together to make a muscle. So, continuing. Now we are in the endomysium. This is inside of the perimysium. Like I said, guys, this is so confusing because they go fascia, epimysium, perimysium, endomysium. It just keeps getting smaller and smaller. So it is underneath the perimysium. It wraps around each individual muscle fiber. So now that we have the fascicles come together to make the muscle. So we have one muscle. The individual like clusters here, like a pomegranate, are the fascicles. And then we take one of these little things within the fascicle out, and that is going to be a muscle fiber. Muscle fiber. There we go. Muscle fiber. That's this thing right here. And we have the sarcolemma that wraps around it. So the sarcolemma is underneath the endomysium, and the cell membrane of the muscle fiber, the myofibrils. So we end up having tons of these little segments here. The sarcolemma is underneath the endomysium, and that is where we have the individual cell. So once again, we have the muscle, which is covered by the fascia. Inside of the muscle, we have the fascicles, so the small little clusters. And within the, what is it called? See, within the fascicles, then that's when we have the muscle fibers, which are the muscle cells. So muscle, fascicle, muscle fiber. And then all of those little layers, the epimysium, the perimysium, the endomysium, those are the little bits inside of each one. So this picture is fantastic. I know you guys probably aren't going to draw during your e-learning day, but I would highly suggest doing some type of rough sketch. It does not need to be beautiful, but get something down to help segment and break all of these things down in your mind. So now we are down at the muscle fiber. And within the muscle fiber, we have even more tubes. Yay! And these tubes are called myofibrils. So this entire thing is one skeletal muscle cell. We're focusing on the skeletal muscle here just because it is the most common within your or within your body. So within a muscle fiber, we have the sarcolemma, which is the cell membrane, and the sarcoplasm, which is going to be the cytoplasm. So we're not calling them cell membranes or cytoplasm. We are calling them sarcolemma, sarcoplasm. So we have the sarcolemma, which is all the way around. It's this massive thing. And the sarcoplasm is going to be the fluid inside. And now we are pulling out the one myofibril, the small little bit in here. So once again, start out. We have the muscle. We have the fascicle. We have the muscle fiber. Having a hard time with that word. And then inside of that, we have the myofibril. So the myofibril is a small little component of the muscle fiber. The sarcoplasmic reticulum is the endoplasmic reticulum here. We are producing proteins, we are producing lipids in order for the muscle fiber to actually work. And we have tons of nuclei and tons of mitochondria. We have many nuclei because the nuclei have DNA. The more DNA, the more protein we can make to make our muscles bigger. And then the mitochondria are there in order to produce ATP. So the more ATP we have, the more endurance you are going to have. We'll talk more about this later on, but there are two ways that you can exercise and build your muscles up. The first way is to actually build muscle density in order to get stronger. The other one, which is going to be producing more mitochondria, is for endurance. So you can train your muscles for endurance, or you can train them for strength. Normally, if you're an athlete, you want to have a combination of both. And then we have transverse tubules. These are membrane-bound canals throughout the fibers that are going to communicate with our muscles. They are surrounded by the cisternae of the cytoplasmic reticulum. So once again, that endoplasmic reticulum is really important for the lipids and proteins. But the transverse tubules, this is what's going to be communicating within our muscles. Oh yeah, and then within the muscle fiber, we have the myofibrils, which we're going to talk about even more. Yay! So, muscle fiber. We have now pulled out one myofibril. Oops, no, this is one myofibril. The transverse tubules are going to be all throughout it, but this is going to be a neuron releasing neurotransmitters, which is going to be acetylcholine. We'll talk about that on Wednesday/Thursday. And that's how our muscle knows to contract. So let's look at the actual structure for contraction now. Yay! The myofibril, which once again, many myofibrils inside of one muscle fiber, is composed of two main filaments that we're going to be talking about. We have myosin, which is thick, and we have actin, which is thin. You guys need to know the difference. You guys need to know what they look like and what both of those do. So myosin is thicker, actin is thinner. I think about myosin as a bigger word, so it's thicker. Actin is smaller, so it's thinner. And these filaments are what overlap in order to create those stripes that we see with striated muscle, like skeletal, like cardiac tissue. So the Z-line, you can see because it's a zigzag. So the Z-line in this area is going to be where the actin attaches. So the actin is attached to the Z-line. The M-line is where we only see myosin. Now the myosin is not actually attached to anything, but you can see it. That's like the lighter magenta here. So the myosin is in the middle of the Z-line, the two Z's. And once again, you guys got to know this stuff. So I'm sorry, but here we are. Then we have the I-band. It only contains actin, so I-band only has actin fibers. That's like surrounding the Z-line. So the I-line or the I-band surrounds the Z-line because that's the only place where we see actin. We have the M-line, and then the Z-line is a zigzag shape on its own. The A-band only contains myosin, so once again, the A-band kind of surrounds the M-line. So the I-band surrounds the actin in the Z-line. The A-band surrounds the myosin within the M-line. There's a lot. The H-zone contains only myosin filaments. So let me go back and clarify. I spoke a little bit too soon. The A-band has all of the myosin in it. So the A-band is all of this. The H zone is only this little guy. And to be fair, you're not going to have to differentiate between the A band and the H band. You just mainly need to know the M line, Z line, myosin, actin, and then what all of those things do. And then the sarcomere, that you definitely need to know. That is a unit stretching from one Z line to the next. So we talk about how atoms are the basic unit of matter in chemistry. We talk about how a cell is the basic unit of life. The sarcomere is the basic unit for muscles. So the sarcomere goes from one Z line to another Z line. This is the most important stretch because the Z lines are what do the contracting within your muscle. So we have the myosin in the middle. The actin is attached to the Z lines, and the actin is the light purple filaments that stick out here. And then the myosin bands, those are all throughout. That's the A band, and then the H band is thinner. You don't need to differentiate that. When we look underneath a microscope, we can't actually see the little myosin and actin filaments, but we do see this down here. So this is where we end up getting the names. The A band is where all of the myosin is. The H zone is only the myosin. The I band is only the actin. The Z line is the little thing in between. And the sarcomere is from Z line to Z line. That's a lot. Okay, so neuromuscular junction. We have a motor neuron. So motor refers to movement. So we have the neurons that are helping with your movement. Yay! So this is going to be the nerve that connects to the muscle fiber. Now I say nerve, it is one single neuron, so that is a misnomer, my bad. It is a single neuron that connects. We're going to see a little bit more about how those different neurons come together in order to form one nerve for the motor unit. So we have one neuron here. Here's the axon, that's going to be the end that then connects and then releases the acetylcholine into the motor end plate for then the muscle to contract. So the neuromuscular junction. Junction means like part in between. So neuro, this is the neuron and the muscle coming together. It is a connection in between the neuron and the muscle fiber itself. It's that little square right here. Motor end plate. This is the end of the neuron that is specialized in order to communicate with the neuron. So we have the motor end plate being on the muscle side that is allowing for the acetylcholine to then bond. So the motor end plate is this portion here. We have the end of the neuron, the motor neuron. This is the motor end plate. And then the neurotransmitters, these are the messages that are stored within the synaptic vesicle, and it releases acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter here specific for muscles. Yep. Okay. So, motor units. We're going to talk about this, and then I'm going to start another video. Motor units, normally one fiber for one neuromuscular junction. However, many motor neurons can be connected to many different fibers. This is confusing. So, what we're doing here is we are connecting one motor neuron to many different fibers so that all of those fibers contract as one. One signal, many muscles. One signal, many muscles. So here we have the singular neuron, and it connects to many muscle fibers. So only one signal is sent from your brain to allow for the entire thing to then contract. So we have one neuron, one motor unit for many different muscles. This is going to be on your test. I'm going to have this quick review up, and then we are going to start a new video. So read this question, and these are your options. Go ahead and pause. All right, you should be ready to answer. Here's your answer. All right. I'm going to start another video. I need you guys to watch it. It's only going to be a few minutes long. I promise it's not painful.